A couple approached me recently and asked a very simple question. Our combined income is about 10K a month. Does it even make sense for us to buy a condo? And if we do, what can we realistically expect to achieve? At the end of this video, you will see how they are able to potentially turn their 10K a month household income into a 2.8 million cash savings in 22 years' time with just one property. Now, I like this question because it's very honest and forward-looking. It's not like, how much will we make in 5 years' time? But what is realistic? So instead of giving them an opinion, I walk them through a typical scenario of a homeowner who bought a 1.5 million property 22 years ago and where he is standing now in terms of cash proceeds. So this is the current situation of the couple who came to me. They both currently own a HDB, which they find have stagnated in terms of price growth. The husband, Zach, is 36 years old. His income is about 6K per month. And Lynn, the wife, is about age 32. Income is about 4K per month. So they are eligible to take a mortgage loan of about 1.1 million. And with the sale of their current HDB, coupled with their CPF, they are able to come up with 25% of the purchase price, which is a down payment. And the maximum property price that they can buy is 1.53 million. And installment is about 4K per month at around 2% interest rate. So what can they expect to achieve in just 20 years' time? Okay, if there are no big prolonged unexpected events or crises like the pandemic, they should be able to get cash proceeds of about 2.8 million just by buying this one property without investing in anything else. So just buy the condo, set and forget, and it will get them there. They looked at me with disbelief, but I told them that I needed to explain some things to them first. So in whatever we try to achieve, it's very important to know the science behind how the thing works and how it's going to get us there. And although it can be quite dry and boring, but this will cement our belief and help us persevere towards our goal. So for example, last year I was trying to lose some weight and keep the weight off and also build some muscle because I could no longer fit into a lot of my clothes and I don't want to keep on buying bigger and bigger clothes because it just doesn't make sense. So after much research, I found that the way to lose fat is not as hard as I thought it would be. Like I have to starve myself to death for half a year. It's actually just to eat 500 calories lesser every day, eat about 100 grams of protein, do strength training 3 times a week. So I was like, sure not, can't be that easy, right? But there is proven science behind this. Okay, 0.5 kg of fat is equals to 3,500 calories. So by cutting down 500 calories a day times 7 days in a week, it's just nice equals to 3,500 calories. So I will lose about 0.5 kg of fat in a week. So in a month, I can lose 2 kg. And in 4 months, I will lose 8 kg. So I did exactly that and got the exact result that I wanted. But that is simple, but not easy. I thought I'll have a lot of problems controlling my snacking habits, like the chocolate bar after dinner, that you just have to reward yourself after a hard day's work. But surprisingly, no. Because once I know of the sure way of how to achieve the weight loss, I stuck to the plan rigorously and religiously without much issues. So by understanding how the weight loss plan works, it helps me anchor my belief that I will get there. So by understanding how property prices work, like how they rise and fall, it will also help you strengthen your belief and achieve the results that you want. So if I didn't find out the proper way, it will be very hard for me to stick to the plan. And I will second guess myself all the time. Oh, like how come the weight, still didn't come off after 1 month? So like after buying a property, it's been 5 years already, why didn't the price double? But if we believe in the plan, we understand the process and keep our eyes steadfast on the goal, we will get there, both for weight loss and for property investing. Okay, so back to the property example. So how and why will Zach and Lynn get to the 2.8 million cash proceeds in 22 years' time? Okay, first we need to understand some very important stuff, although it's going to be a bit boring. But please bear with me, because trust me, like you, I'd rather be watching Netflix than listen to all this boring stuff, right? But Netflix cannot retire me. This stuff can. People know that property prices grow very fast, but they seldom take the time to understand why. Because if they take the time to really understand why, They will know exactly why they need to invest in a condo and how it can retire them. So firstly, we need to understand why property prices keep going up. Oh, this is because of a few things. So let me go to the screen. Okay, so why are the property prices going up and not coming down? So one of the reasons is because of the increase in population. So since in 2024, the Straits Times reported that we've crossed 6.04 million already in population. Okay, and the Singapore average household size is 3.09. It used to be higher, but because of many reasons, like for example, like increase in divorce rates. So originally there are 6 people in a household, for example. So after the divorce, so this household is split into 2. So household size has decreased, but there is demand for more units. The total number of dwellings in Singapore is about 1.6 million. So this includes things like the HDB flats, the total number of HDB flats, 2-room, 3-room, 4-room, 5-room, the condos, as well as the landed properties. They all make up about 1.6 million dwelling units in Singapore now. Okay, but there is a serious shortage. Okay, let's do some simple maths. Current population is 6 million people. So we divide it by 3.09 persons per house. So what is required is 1.94 million homes. But right now, we only have 1.6 million homes. So that means there is a shortage of 340,000 homes. Okay, so when the population hits the targeted 6.9 million population, okay, 2.23 million homes are required. So there will be an even more shortage of homes and shortage of 633,000 homes. Okay, so demand will definitely continue to grow due to increase in population. So the other thing that will contribute to the increase in demand for houses is the Singapore growing economy. So the GDP rate you can see is hovering, I think, very healthily between 3 to 4% every year, except for the COVID when it went down to minus 3.8, but it also quickly rebounded to 9.8. So now we are still at very healthy levels. Okay, so this also contributes to increase in demand for homes, right? The stable GDP is also tied to this rising household incomes. So you can see that in 2015, the household income was only about 11,500, but when 2024 came along, it has increased to 14,542. So let's look at the average household income based on dwelling type. Okay, so for 5-room, the average monthly household income is about 15,000. Okay, which means that they can afford to buy a property that is about 2.3 million. Okay, so for condos, the average monthly household income is about 23,000, which means that they can buy a property that's worth about 3.5 million. So it's no wonder that all those new launches are being snapped up so quickly. So the other reason why property prices will continue to increase is because of inflation. So the 6 years core inflation is about 16.5%. Okay, so this chart will explain everything very clearly, that property price appreciation will beat inflation all the time. So from the year 2000 until 2025, okay, for the last 25 years, the inflation has been about 2%. Okay, but however, the property price index has grown 4.1% every year. Okay, so it's definitely the best hedge against inflation. So who are the winners and losers from inflation? Of course, I want to be on the right side, because if you are an asset holder, that means if you own property, then definitely inflation is going to work for you, because the prices will keep on increasing. But if you hoard cash, and if you don't don't really invest in anything else, then the money will just shrink and become smaller and smaller every year. So, of course, there is, not forgetting, there is transformation everywhere in Singapore, north, south, east, west. For example, like in the Woodlands area, okay, and also in the Punggol area, when this plan was announced in January 2018, okay, that they're going to add one university and also add about 28,000 high-tech jobs and 12,000 students. So all this transformation, of course, is very good, but the flip side is also that it will cause all the property prices to go up and harder to afford for people who are looking to buy. But of course, for people who have already bought, then it's very good for them. So from the Woodlands transformation, you can see that it has gone up about 41%. Okay, so for the Punggol area, it has gone up by 26% in prices. So here, let's look at this 1.5 million private property that was bought in 2003 and how the prices rise and fall and what is the final conclusion in the end. So if Zach and Lynn were to buy a property that's worth 1.5 million property now, in 22 years' time, this is what they can expect to, these are the profits that they can expect to have. Okay, so let's take a look. So assumption is that this is 1.5 million, okay, 75% loan, okay, 5% cash, and then 20% CPF used for deposit and stamp duties. Of course, it can be, you can be the one staying in it, or you can rent it out, but it doesn't matter because someone will have to pay for it, right? So it's either the homeowner who's staying inside or the tenant. So the cash used is 75,000 and the CPF used is 300,000. Okay, so let's see. So in 2003, you can see that the prices, of course, it will not go linear in one direction. So it minus 2.1, then plus 0.9, and then plus 3.9, plus 10.2. Okay, so wow, this one, it went up by 31%. I think this was during when it recovered from the subprime crisis and so on and so forth, that the prices went up. And so here is when the prices, 2013 was when all the cooling measures came out, the TDSR, ABSD all came out. So the next few years were a bit flat. Okay, and of course, 2020, that's when the COVID, and of course it rebounded with the revenge into 10.6% per year. So you can see that the prices, it goes up, it goes down. So, but property being a very long-term investment, there's no need to be overly concerned. So in 2025, okay, the price went up to 3.778. Okay, so if you were to take a calculator to compound to calculate the compounded gain, you can see that it has grown about 4% every year from 1.5, okay, compounded 4%. So on the 22nd year, okay, it will increase to 3.778. So, of course, the homeowners, they can wait until 30 years, okay, when their loan is thoroughly paid up, or they can sell on the 22nd year mark, which is like what this person did. So, after holding on to this property for 22 years, okay, they sold it at 3.778 million. So we have to take out this outstanding loan, minus this off, and minus off also this CPF interest, CPF plus the CPF interest, the accrued interest, okay? And the cash proceeds here is 2.79 million. So they will walk away with almost 2.8 million in cash, okay? So this is like forced savings, right? If you don't buy a property, maybe you can ask yourself, are you able to save up 2.79 million in 22 years? So that means there is a forced savings of 126,000 per year. I mean, some people don't even make 126,000 per year, not to mention being able to save it. Okay? So here's where it gets interesting. So at that stage, they can choose to downgrade to a HDB and free up the capital that they have. So maybe by that time, a 3-room HDB already costs about 700K. That leaves them with about 2 million or so to comfortably retire on. Okay, so now instead of focusing on property, they can shift into income mode. So for example, if the 2 million is placed into instruments like REITs or Singapore blue chip stocks, they can get about 5% yield every year. So that could generate roughly 135K per year, and that's about 11K per month. So now the question changes. It's no longer, can we afford a condo, or should we buy a condo? And why are we being so extravagant by getting a condo? It becomes, how can we invest into a condo so that our retirement can be secured 20 years later? How can we make this happen? So now I always tell my clients this is not guaranteed, and nothing in life is ever guaranteed. The only thing guaranteed in life is death. Because like it or not, all of us will have to die one day. So there will always be global uncertainty, market cycles, policy changes, and different outcomes depending on what you buy. But the key idea is this. Property can be a framework for long-term wealth building, even when your household income is about 10K. So for this couple, the conversation becomes much clearer after this. So they stop thinking about the price today, why is it so high, why are we being priced out, this is not fair, and started thinking about where they want to be 20 years later. So if you're in a similar position and want to understand what your numbers could look like over time, we can always walk through it step by step. So in the meanwhile, take care and we'll talk soon.